Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
I'm Chicklin.
So, Chicklin, what were we talking about last time?
So we were talking about the climate change in Svalbard. So you know that the weather is changing and ice caps are melting. So well, all these climate changes, what do you think? I mean, how do they affect people in the world, in our lives?
Right, well, because obviously we're all being affected a lot by climate change. Some people more than others. I've heard that Jakarta is one place which is is at risk from climate change. Jakarta is in Indonesia, and it is a city that is very, very, very heavy, and it's actually starting to sink into the sea. And because the sea levels are rising, Jakarta could just disappear in perhaps 100 years.
So it'll be underwater?
Yeah, it could be underwater. There's other places like Miami as well. Florida is very, very low down, and so is the Netherlands. And those places could also disappear under the sea if the sea levels rise. Meanwhile, in India, people are having to move because climate change is making huge deserts. So no plants are growing in places, and so no one can live there. So all of these are making people leave their homes and move, and also think about different ways that they can protect their cities and maybe stop them from having this fate. So actually that's what we're going to be talking about in the article today. We're going to be talking about how Svalbard people are being impacted by climate change and what they're thinking about doing about it.
Reading. Svalbard, the fastest warming place on Earth. Residents in Svalbard must adapt to the changing climate. Parts of the region's main town, Longyearbyen, have been rebuilt after several avalanches. However, climate change is affecting Svalbard in another way, one that's less obvious. It's causing psychological troubles. Norway is known for having some of the world's happiest people. But many locals in Svalbard have had to watch their way of life disappear, along with their houses and familiar views. People on these islands live with daily anxiety and a sense of loss. Many homes are in avalanche zones and are on constant evacuation notice. People must leave for days at a time when a mix of rain and snow increases the risk. Others have had to give up their homes completely. Not to mention that hundreds of jobs have been lost at the local mines. Scientists say that Svalbard will be 10 degrees Celsius warmer by the end of this century. That means people in this tiny Arctic region will be adapting to change for decades to come.
So, our article starts with an important sentence. Residents in Svalbard must adapt to the changing climate.
We have this word adapt. To adapt means to change or to change something with a view to suit in different conditions. 就是去适应一件事情的意思。那我们最常说的就是 to adapt oneself to something. 所以你就可以说 She is trying so hard to adapt herself to the new school life. 她试着要去适应学校新生活。所以我们知道 Svalbard 这个地方的居民呢，他们就要去适应这个气候变化。
Parts of the region's main town, Longyearbyen, have been rebuilt after several avalanches. Now, avalanche, remember, is a dangerous thing that happens when a large amount of snow moves quickly down a hill or mountain. So Longyearbyen is by the side of the sea, next to a big mountain, so a lot of the town is at risk of being hit by these big avalanches.
However, climate change is affecting Svalbard in another way, one that's less obvious.
Right, I wonder what that is. Whoa, apparently it's causing psychological troubles. So a trouble is a problem or difficulty. But what does psychological mean, Chicolin?
So if something is psychological, it is related to our human mind or feelings, 就是心理上的、精神上的意思。
So it's in here. It's not a physical problem. It's a psychological problem. So Norway is known for having some of the world's happiest people.
所以我们看一下这个 be known for 这边意思就是以什么什么特色让大家知道，那我就可以说 This restaurant is known for its delicious food。那如果是以什么身份出名啊，可以说 to be known as something， 或一个 title， 那你就可以说 She is known as a singer。那我们也可以说 to be known to， 就是对什么来说是出名的，对谁来说，那你就可以说这一首周杰伦 is known to a lot of people， 就很多人认识他。那我们看一下课文哦，所以挪威呢，它以拥有一些世界上最幸福的人而闻名哦。好，那我们来看一下今天的文法哦。今天的文法是动名词和现在分词。那所以我们原形动词的字尾加上 ing 就可以当成动名词或者是现在分词。但两者的词性跟用法是有不一样的哦。我们先看一下动名词哦，它意思就是把动词转化成名词的用法，跟普通名词一样，可以做句子的主词、受词或者是两者的补语使用。那动名词当主词使用的时候是第三人称单数哦，所以后面的动词就要接上单数动词。那我们看一下例句 ，Playing basketball is one of Jack's favorite hobbies。所以当主词呢，这边是当主词嘛，我们就把它当成第三人称单数。而另外一个当受词的时候，我们可以说 Karen has a bad habit of biting her fingernails when she's nervous。好，这边是当受词。那我们刚刚提到的现在分词，它主要是当形容词用，可以去修饰名词，或者是作为补语哦。那我们再看几个例句。From somewhere in the forest, I could hear the sound of running water。这边当形容词用，又或者当主词补语用，我们可以说 The long journey was tiring and took more than 24 hours。好 ，just took more than one day。好，那我们补充一下，英文中的各种进行式呢，即由各种助动词还有现在分词的共同来组成。
But many locals in Svalbard have had to watch their way of life disappear, along with their houses and familiar views. So disappear is a verb, and when something disappears, it is not there anymore or cannot be seen. When the sun goes down in the evening, it disappears behind the horizon. That's the line between the sky and the earth. Some animals have disappeared too, which means they have all died out and can't be found anymore. The dinosaurs, or konglong, are an example of animals that have disappeared. In the article, though, the Svalbard people's way of life is disappearing. That means that their routines, their traditions, and culture are all completely changing because of climate change. It's very sad when a culture disappears or dies out, but unfortunately, that happens a lot. Disappear can also mean hide behind. So, for example, we could say that the magician disappeared behind a curtain, or the man disappeared into the woods. He went into the woods and we couldn't see where he was anymore because he was behind the trees. Now, our example sentence for disappear is, this language used to be spoken by lots of people, but it disappeared in the 20th century.
好，那我们来看一下 disappear 这一个字。disappear 是动词哦，它就是消失啊、不见的意思。譬如说 ，the wine stain on my shirt has disappeared。又或者是呢，出现嘛，我们把 dis 拿掉，就会变成出现，或者是似乎的意思。譬如说 ，I had been waiting for an hour when she appeared. Oh, so she was late. 好，那我们看第二个。Jerry appears to be concerned about something. 诶，他看起来好像在担心什么。She seems to be worried about something. 那我们又有另外一个字来讲，我们来看一下 familiar 这一个字。
Yes, familiar. Something that is familiar is something that we are used to and probably have seen lots of before. The familiar views that Svalbard people are used to is the snow and ice that surrounds their town. Why is it familiar? Because it's around them and they've been able to see it for most of their lives. We could also say that they are familiar with these views. So what is the opposite of familiar? We could say that something is unfamiliar, or we could say that something is out of the ordinary. Here's an example sentence. Jonas is normally a very calm person, so his behavior today was completely out of the ordinary. Now here's one more example sentence using our vocab word. As the plane came into land, Michael saw the Canadian mountains that he was so familiar with.
好，所以 familiar 是一个形容词哦，就是代表很熟悉的意思。所以对什么事情很熟悉，就可以说 something is familiar to me 或 to someone。那和什么很熟悉，可以说 be familiar with something。那我们看一下例句哦 ，This gesture is familiar to the young。或者是呢 ，Mr. Mender is familiar with this neighborhood。那我们看到 unfamiliar 就是不常见的哦。And we also have another phrase along with， 在我们上一个句子哦，它就是有还有或者是与什么什么一起的意思。所以呢 ，Svalbard 群岛的许多当地人，他们就不得不看着他们的生活消失，或者他们的房子啦，熟悉的景色 ，which is really sad. So what happens is people on these islands live with daily anxiety and a sense of loss. And we have this word, anxiety is a worried feeling you have because you think something bad might happen. And another word you might have seen is anxious, which is an adjective, 就是焦虑的意思。所以这个岛屿上的人们每天都很焦虑，那么有失落感 a sense of loss.
So many homes are in avalanche zones and are on constant evacuation notice. Now, a zone, that's a noun, is an area of land or water or air that has defined borders. Avalanche zones are areas that have a high risk of avalanches. Normally, local police won't let you climb, ski, or snowboard there because it is very dangerous. There might be an avalanche and it might hit you. There are some other types of zones too, though. A conflict zone is an area where there is a conflict or a war or a battle happening. A no-fly zone is an area that planes cannot fly through. So, for example, I don't know if you knew this, North Korea has a no-fly zone. When you fly out of China, you have to go around North Korea. You can't fly over it because it's not safe.
I think a lot of countries have that.
Yeah. And we also have no-man zones as well. No-man zones are areas that you can't go because there's a battle or a war, and the two sides of the war have agreed that this is an area no one is allowed to go to. So there's actually an example of this in our example sentence. The area between South and North Korea has been a no-man zone since the 1950s. That's true, there is nobody there.
好，那我是刚刚讲到这一个字，我们可以在前面加一个名词哦，那就代表说是某一个地方，这个地方是怎么样的，还是地区地带的意思。那我们再补充几个，譬如说像是地震的地区 （earthquake zone），或者是T zone，T zone 就是我们的那个
Where your spots come in.
在我们的脸上。那我们或者是不能停车的地方 ，in no parking zone 也是可以的。So zone is a verb. When it's used as a verb, it means when a place is zoned. It's divided into different smaller areas, or there are rules set for the use of land, or for the types of buildings or structures that can be built on it. 就是有划什么地带啊，分成几区的意思。那你就可以说 This land has been zoned for industrial use. 就这个土地呢，划作为工业的用地。
And we also saw the word constant there, which is an adjective, and when something is constant, it doesn't stop. The local police in Svalbard have set up a constant notice or warning for the people living in avalanche zones because they are scared that an avalanche could happen at any time. Similarly, if I am constantly talking about it, it means, if I'm constantly talking, it means that I am talking and talking and talking and talking without stopping. My talking is constant. It never stops. Something that is not constant might be called occasional, which means that it only happens from time to time. Taiwan doesn't get constant typhoons, because if it did, you could never go outside, but it does get occasional typhoons, which means a few of them come every year, or maybe sometimes twice a month if it's really bad. Around Christmas, our house gets a constant stream of visitors from near and far. That's our last example sentence of constant.
Okay, 所以老师刚刚有提到 occasional 就是偶尔的，它不是像持续不断，所以我们有时候说 sometimes， 我们也可以说 occasionally 来当成偶尔发生的意思。好，那么看一下 constant 就是持续不断的嘛，那它也有不固定的、不变的意思。譬如说 the refrigerator keeps food at a constant temperature。 或者是呢 That constant noise is driving me nuts, driving me crazy. 好，那我们看一下 constantly 当副词就是不断的，那你也可以说 The world is changing constantly. And then we also have another word, evacuation. Evacuation stands for the process of moving people from a dangerous place to somewhere else that's safe. 就是有疏散或者是撤离的意思。所以回到课文当中，许多房屋都在雪崩区哦，然后就常常接到这个疏散的通知。And next, the article says, people must leave for days at a time when a mix of rain and snow increases the risks. And at a time 就是每次一次的意思。譬如说 take 2 pills at a time. Seb, that means 每次
I'd rather not take any pills. I definitely don't want to mix the pills with anything else.
You don't do that.
You don't want a bad mix. And that's actually our next word. Mix is a noun, and a mix is a combination of two or more things. If you've ever drunk a cocktail, a milkshake, or a smoothie, then you've drunk a mix or a mixture before. That's because you make all of these things by combining or mixing, it's a verb too, lots of ingredients together to make the drink. So mix in our article isn't quite so tasty though. It's not like a nice milkshake.
Yeah.
Here it is sleet, which is a mix of rain and snow that is wet and makes avalanches happen very easily. So our example sentence for mix is, this salad is a mix of green vegetables, fish, and boiled eggs.
Okay.
Delicious.
Yeah, so mix 这一个字就是混合结合。那像老师说的，也可以当动词哦。But besides meaning to combine, it can also mean being with or communicating well with other people. 比如说 Josephine is always mixing with the wrong people. It can also mean to get involved. 像是你加入或者是卷入什么，你就可以说 He mixed in the fight and is now regretting it.
Oh yeah, don't start something you can't finish.
Yeah.
So risk, that's our next word, is a noun, and a risk is the chance that something bad is going to happen. A town with a high risk of earthquakes, for example, is a town where earthquakes probably happen quite a lot. Meanwhile, a town with a low risk of earthquakes probably only gets 1 or 2 of them every 5 years. Now, similar words to risk include threat. And a threat of something is the chance that something bad will happen. We could also talk about a hazard. A hazard is something that might be dangerous. So when you're driving your car, you want to look out for potential hazards, which are accidents that could happen. An accident is actually our next word. An accident is something bad that happens without anyone meaning for it to happen. Now, our example sentence for risk is, the weather is good today, but there's a high risk of rain tomorrow, so don't forget your umbrella.
好哦，所以 risk 这个字就是风险、危险的意思。我们在文章里面是名词，那有一个片语我们比较常用，就是 take a risk. So when you take a risk, that means you do something that might be dangerous. 譬如说 he isn't afraid to take risks， 代表他不会很害怕去冒险。那另外一个 at risk 也是一个片语，我们就是 when something is at risk, it is in a dangerous situation， 就是有风险的意思。Or to put something or somebody at risk， 那你就可以说啊 ，fools usually do things that put themselves at risk， 或者是 at your own risk。就是自行承担风险的意思，譬如说 swim at your own risk， 如果你游泳的话，那你就要自行去承担风险哦。那如果是 risk 当动词，就是冒险，譬如说 he risked his life trying to save the drowning boy. And then next the article says, others have had to give up their homes completely.
Oh, because of the danger of the avalanches. Not to mention that hundreds of jobs have been lost at the local mines.
Not to mention is another phrase here， 就是更不用说 not to mention that 怎么样。所以有一些人就被迫放弃了家园呢，更不用说是矿山的工作，因为已经没有工作可以做了。
Scientists say that Svalbard will be 10 degrees warmer by the end of this century.
That means people in this tiny Arctic region will be adapting to change for decades to come.
Right, and those are going to be some big changes in the decades to come.
所以我们看一下 to come 就是将来的，接下来即将来的感觉。所以整句的意思我们可以说，科学家表示呢，到本世纪末， 斯瓦尔群岛，它们就会温度上升10度。那这个意味啊，这个极小的北极地区的人就要在未来几十年去适应这样子的变化。What can we do about it?
I don't know, but something needs to happen if people are going to continue living at long year bien. Now, unfortunately, that is all we have time for with today's story, but we do have time for a For You chat question, so stick around.
For You chat.
Hi, so our For You chat question for today is, how would you react if your hometown experienced an extreme change? If it was suddenly covered by snow all year, or if half of the jobs and people disappeared. What do you think?
Ooh, okay. Well, actually, I had a similar experience to this. Not a permanent experience, but when I was, how old was I? About 13 years old, my town in the UK got flooded. And it was a big, big flood. The flood was so big that in some parts of the town, the water got up to 1 story. So the whole ground floor, the whole first floor of some buildings was underwater. And so that was very big. For a few days, we couldn't leave our houses. We had to stay in our houses the whole time. At the time, I thought it was exciting, because nothing really happens in my hometown. So I was kind of excited about that. And also the last Harry Potter book came out about a day before the flood started. So I had the new Harry Potter book. So I just read all of Harry Potter. But I think now I would be more concerned. I mean, every time there's a typhoon, I'm always a little bit worried. Should I take all my plants in off the balcony? Should I don't know, cover up the windows? Are they going to break? You know, there's a lot of things you need to think about, aren't there? So why don't you guys talk about that too now? Why don't you think about what kind of big changes could happen to Taipei suddenly? Maybe a huge typhoon comes along and damages all the roads and breaks into people's homes. Well, it doesn't break into people's homes, it damages people's homes. Typhoon is not coming into your house. But imagine that something really big happens in Taipei. How would you react? What would you do? How would you feel? You guys can talk about that. But for English for You, I'm Seb.
I'm Chickling.
And we'll catch you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Svalbard, the fastest warming place on Earth. Residents in Svalbard must adapt to the changing climate. Parts of the region's main town, Longyearbyen, have been rebuilt after several avalanches. However, climate change is affecting Svalbard in another way, one that's less obvious. It's causing psychological troubles. Norway is known for having some of the world's happiest people. But many locals in Svalbard have had to watch their way of life disappear, along with their houses and familiar views. People on these islands live with daily anxiety and a sense of loss. Many homes are in avalanche zones and are on constant evacuation notice. People must leave for days at a time when a mix of rain and snow increases the risk. Others have had to give up their homes completely. Not to mention that hundreds of jobs have been lost at the local mines. Scientists say that Svalbard will be 10 degrees Celsius warmer by the end of this century. That means people in this tiny Arctic region will be adapting to change for decades to come.
Vocabulary Review. Disappear. The Hakka people of Taiwan have seen some of their culture and traditions disappear during recent years. Familiar. As the train entered his hometown, Alex saw the familiar houses he had known all his life. Zone. Rita was given a fine by the police when she left her car in a no parking zone. constant. Peter moved to a new house because of the constant noise from the nearby MRT tracks. Mix. Lisa brought a mix of nuts and raisins with her to snack on during her long train ride. Risk. Brian thinks it is too much of a risk to tell his parents that he has a boyfriend.
智慧小补帖
Adapt. Psychological. Anxiety. Evacuation.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net